United States
of the United States.
Helping children learn to read.
I'm going to add my bananas.
Very important to your diet.
Yes, very important.
And cooking raw, next on Black Nouveau.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Black Nouveau. I'm Milton Dockery.
And I'm Faithe Colas. We're glad you could join us. On this edition, we'll join Caroline Carter as she shows us how to cook healthier this holiday season by cooking raw. We'll explore the 7 secrets every woman should know and talk with Debra Blanks about the recently concluded Social Development Commission's Poverty Summit.
We'll also share some memories of our former co-host Keith Murphy. But first, a profile of Eddie Rutledge, a Milwaukeean who has found a creative way to teach children how to read.
Bunny is a special friend and I can always count on him. Oh yeah, did I mention that Bunny is a rabbit and he can talk?
I love working with children. I've always somehow been exposed to being in charge of a children's program or children in some setting, and I believe that was my calling for some reason. So I'm just sticking with that path. I love it. This is actually my passion.
Eddie Rutledge has been working in children's education since 1998.
I've been a part of child care for well over 10 years here. I had a child care facility approximately 10, 11 years ago. I've sat actually on several state boards for Wisconsin. I've always been responsible or some type of, like I said, responsible format for child care conferences. I've always visited schools. I've helped out with counseling, advocacy for child care providers. So all of that has always been a part of my life, no matter what.
A few years ago, he became an author of a children's book.
Well, the book came to a reality from several discussions I had with my cousin who resides in Virginia. That's Amani's mom. And just really after repeat conversations, I decided to put together a project that I thought could be really, really creative but yet interactive for children of all ages, but especially in the age range of Amani. Amani is actually 6 years of age, and most of the students that I've dealt with in my child care days and also just interaction with schools were in the ages of 2, 3, 4, and 5 and up.
The book is a springboard for presentations that Eddie and his associates perform for schools and other children's groups.
When the book project started approximately 4 years ago, it was just an idea to put together a type of prototype to submit to various networks such as Nickelodeon and Disney. Actually a pitch story, as they call it. But what I ended up doing was first putting out the book. I'm also a musician, so with my background in music, I wanted to do something a little creative that I had never seen on stage from other vendors or keynote speakers or even just workshops. I wanted to try to come up with a musical approach, yet a book approach for story time opportunities, incorporate nutrition, healthy eating, and along with children's fitness.
All right, so the first group is the greens group, and that includes things like breads. Can anybody else tell me one other thing that's in that greens group?
Why is nutrition such an important part of this?
Well, I think part of it for me is that I, again, served over or was responsible for a lot of students that had, I don't want to say bad habits, but didn't have well-educated habits on how to eat smart. You know, I remember myself when we were younger, the convenient way to get a snack or food was just to go to your local corner store and get a bag of chips and a bag of whatever else. At that time, it was acceptable because there was no big concern for what goes into our bodies. As time went on, I became more aware of that. I started really speaking out on it myself to think that, okay, maybe we can, if you eat less of this, then maybe we can approach this from a different angle. From the regular mentions of healthy eating, child obesity prevention, all that just came together into one big project for me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
He feels the exercises help keep the children physically and mentally fit.
I've learned that if a child, if a child has physical exercise, that will mentally keep them prepared, keep them in a routine that maybe, for example, when I walked into school today, students said, hey, that's the guy from Amani's World. Well, they remembered me. I was here a month and a half ago. So if we're working with them in a physical aspect with physical training, they will hopefully retain that exercise, that somebody, adult, like cared about my body, cared about me being stronger, in a fit form, and so on.
And he thinks geography is important.
From visiting these schools here in Wisconsin and on the East Coast, I've seen a lot of stories, as I would call them, of children that need attention from people like myself, advocates. There are a lot of children that are less fortunate, don't have the opportunity to travel from places, from place to place, that don't have full knowledge on, for example, where the White House is, and they live right in that city. You know, if you ask them, have you ever been to the White House for just a regular tour? They haven't done that. I had students here in Milwaukee when I had my child care facilities that had never gone across state lines from Wisconsin into Chicago just to see a play or a show or even a movie.
Each presentation has a musical performance.
When you grow from small to tall, gotta have a little patience. When you build a house from blocks, when you learn to read a clock, but certain things we do will take some time. When you learn to count by twos, it takes time. Every day, yeah. Things you like to do. Time with things you like to do.
Eddie plans to continue the Amani book series.
I would love to see more, I would say not more, but continued involvement with reading paperback books. As I mentioned, we have electronic versions of all of this, but I believe there's always going to be a room for the paperback book approach. There will always be room for a person, for a human to come into a classroom and share a story. I believe everyone has their own story to tell. Of the United States.
Of the United States.
More information about Amani's World is available online at www.amanisworld.com.
Having that quiet time on a daily basis to commune with your higher power is empowering.
And Asia Hadley wants to assist women in becoming empowered with her book, 7 Secrets Every Woman Should Know, How to Create a Joy-Filled Life.
Purpose is to inspire women to co-create the lives that they desire without sacrificing the joy they so truly deserve. And I understand that when you're going through life and you're working so hard, sometimes we can sacrifice a lot. And I wanted to write this book to inspire women that, you know, you can work hard, but you can still have that joy that comes from within.
Why a woman's book and at this time?
I think this is a critical time in our history where we need to take time to be still. We're so busy, particularly with all of the technology. We have our Blackberries, our iPods, we're working, we're raising kids, we're mothers, we're wives, we're grandmothers, and sometimes we get so busy that we don't take that time daily to stop, to pause, and to go within and to commune with Spirit.
Hadley starts the 7 Secrets with gratitude.
Gratitude is something that we need to continue to nurture within ourselves every day. Gratitude helps us to frame the way we look at our lives, look at ourselves, look at other people. Because when you are in a state of gratitude, it opens you up to being grateful and thankful and appreciative, which allows you to attract more of the same into your life.
Why should a woman read this book, and especially a Black woman?
This book is a great reminder of who we are as women. Throughout life, you can get caught up into what you have, where you work, what your children are doing, and you lose that sense of who we truly are. So it's important to be reminded to take that time to be still, to keep that connection, to remember that we are expressions of that universal energy.
I'm in the kitchen with Caroline Carter, and we're cooking raw. Caroline, tell us a little bit about these treats here.
Okay, Faith, what we have here are collard green roll-ups. As you can see, the leaves here are fresh collard green leaves, uncooked. So on the inside is a filling with raw broccoli, cauliflower, red and green cabbage, carrots, raisins, garlic, whole host of good food that's good for you, have heart healthy, make you feel good.
Heart healthy.
Yes.
Is it being green, uncooked? Is that the part that really helps your heart?
You know what?
And the vegetables inside?
Yes, because what those vegetables are filled with nutrients and enzymes that our body actually needs to function well. And we do need to eat some raw food, uncooked food once in a while.
Okay, we have some other things over here. While you're telling me about this, I think I'm just going to have a little bite of this.
Go ahead, Faith. So what I'm going to do while you check out the collard green smoothie, the collard green roll-up, I'm going to make a collard green smoothie. Again, here are fresh collard green leaves. And what I typically do is just remove part of the stem.
And what does this smoothie do for you?
Again, when you are drinking or eating a collard green smoothie, again, what I'm looking for are the nutrients, the vitamins. These are the things that our bodies need. It's good for our digestive system. Everybody, is trying to take vitamins. Well, you have your vitamin K, your vitamin A, you have your enzyme, all of the things that your body needs to function well. These are the things that our doctor tells us to eat. And I'm just showing people how they can eat it raw and make it good.
This is really very good. It's very tasty.
Thank you.
Has just enough spice in it.
Thank you.
It's crunchy for us post-potato chip people.
Right. And so here this is about a cup of raw collard greens. And what I did was took about a fourth of a pineapple and then a few pieces of another fourth. Put that in there. I'm going to add my bananas.
Very important to your diet.
Yes, very important. As you can see, that it's brown. And it's okay to eat a brown banana. When you eat it like this, the nutrients are that much more. It heightens the nutrients in there. So now what I'm going to do is just add a little water. And it's about a cup, maybe a half a cup of water. Put that in there. Put the lid on.
And this is something you can have for breakfast.
You can have this for breakfast.
Snacks.
You can have this for a snack, lunch, any time of the day. And it gives you energy.
That's an important thing to know. I think all of us have a point in our day when we're looking for more energy.
Most definitely. And so here we go. I'm going to put this on. Voila.
Takes about a minute.
Takes about a minute. You don't see the collard greens, but you know it's there.
But it's green.
Okay, so you do the honors.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to pour you some collard green smoothie.
Bottoms up. This is very good. I probably have a green mustache now. But this is very good. The consistency is wonderful. It has a great taste. It's very smooth. The color would be fun for kids, so this would be a really nice treat for kids and teenagers.
Right.
This is wonderful.
Thank you very much.
And how does this affect our health? What parts of our body will this work for?
Everything, Faith. It helps our digestive system. I mean, you know, I'm not a doctor. What I do is just, or a nurse, but what I do is just take the advice of the doctors and nurse. When they say eat fresh fruits and vegetables, eat this. A lot of people are walking around, and just me, talk about my own case, I used to have a problem with my digestive system. Eliminating. I'm telling you, you drink one of these once a day, see what happens, how it makes sure it regulates your body.
It's very important. We get to a certain age, we start paying attention to things like that. Thank you, Caroline. This is wonderful.
You're very welcome, Faith.
Recently, the Social Development Commission sponsored its 4th annual Poverty Symposium, a day-long event that gathered many diverse elements of the Milwaukee area to discuss poverty-related issues. Joining us is Debra Blanks, the CEO of the SDC. Ms. Blanks, welcome, ma'am.
Glad to be here.
Ms. Blanks, this was the 4th annual symposium. What would you say was the headline or the most important thing that happened?
Well, I think the most important thing that happened was that we had a presentation called Build Milwaukee that really was focusing on how we as a community can come together to help really revitalize certain areas of our city, and not just revitalize the neighborhoods, but bring income and jobs and wealth creation opportunities to the residents.
And how can we do that?
Well, in several ways. One, we really need to look intently as to how we create jobs in the central city of Milwaukee. We all know 50% black male unemployment. We know too many families are challenged just to make ends meet. And so one way is to call upon government and corporations and nonprofits to come together and quit operating as silos and find ways to create jobs, ways to employ people in rebuilding neighborhoods, looking at home ownership. So a multitude of ways, a lot of different strategies, but calling on cross-sector community involvement.
Good team approach.
Definitely.
You released the findings of your community needs assessment, and that assessment said that there was a lack of the lack of employment and education are major barriers to removing people from poverty. What is the value of that community needs assessment?
Well, I think it helps to reinforce some of the messages we've been sending, but more importantly, we at SDC as staff, we don't figure it out. We go out into the community and ask people who are really living the issues to tell us what they think. And so we really heard their voices speak to us as to what they see as the primary issues that are impacting their lives.
You know, that's amazing, because oftentimes when people work in the communities, they go in the community and tell people what they need. In your particular case, the people are actually telling you through this assessment what they actually need.
Sure.
What are some of the other things that you found?
Besides education and income, one of the things that surprised me in a way was how much people identified the issue of healthy relationships and how that impacts their ability to raise a family in a healthy way, to really go about dealing with life's business. Other issues are health. If you don't feel well, you can't do that much. And so health, family relationships, not just income, but how do you keep the money you make and develop wealth? Asset development is an issue. And then some of the ones that we're used to hearing are housing and food, those kinds of basic needs.
Did you find anything? I know we're dealing with poverty and unemployment. Did your findings deal with crime statistics in any way that can prevent a person from getting good employment? For an example, maybe felons or anything of that nature?
Well, our statistics talk about the real difficulty of people who have been in prison or who have criminal records, and in some situations the legislation is tightening up. So if you've had a criminal record and you've been employed in a certain field, some of the laws have tightened so that you lose your job. And so what's the impact of that criminal record? Do we believe in second chances? Can we find ways to help people get employment even though they've had an offense? Because if we don't, we're really saying to them, maybe they'll just have to keep living on the fringes of society.
How is the commission addressing that?
Well, the commission we've realized that we can't do it all. So what we've tried to do is be very strategic, and we focus on the issues such as healthy marriage, to some degree health, definitely jobs, and then we try to find fantastic partners, because there are a lot in this community that will work with us, and oftentimes we step back and let them take the lead. You
mentioned teamwork, but I also hear you mention a theme, holistic approach along with that.
Definitely.
With that thing. You mentioned statistics earlier. Statistics also say things are getting worse. Are they?
Oh, definitely. I mean, of course, at SDC, we look at the central city and we value everyone there, but also we're countywide. And so when we see people from Oak Creek and Franklin and South Milwaukee who never thought they would come to SDC for help, having to come to us, I think that in itself says a lot. Things are getting worse, and not just for the families that we traditionally serve, but for those people who have considered themselves middle class, the working poor, and have found the economic downturn impacting them significantly.
What can the community do to help?
Well, we can come up with a lot of different strategies, but I think the one thing that sometimes is lacking is a sustainable collective community will. We can identify strategies to increase income, we can identify strategies for jobs, but unless we as a community see it as a problem that impacts all of us and really make a commitment, whether we're government, nonprofit corporations, individual citizens, that's what we need here.
Ms. Blanks, if people want more information, how can they go about getting it?
Well, they can call our main number, 906-2700. They can also call the person who really took the lead on this was a young man by the name of Dave Salata. His number, 906-2718. He's led a lot of this coalition building, and he will connect people with the right groups.
Ms. Blanks, thank you so much for joining us on such an important topic.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Milwaukee was saddened recently to learn of the death of veteran radio broadcaster Keith Murphy, the voice of the Morning Magazine and the Urban Journal.
Along with his radio career, Keith was also a co-host and contributor to Black Nouveau for 5 years. We will miss him. Here are some clips from the stories and interviews he did with us while here at Black Nouveau.
During the 1960s, there was one girl group that reigned supreme, scoring hit after hit as members of Motown royalty. Starting their careers as the Primettes, they soon became known as the Supremes, and later Diana Ross and the Supremes. In the early days, the group consisted of Diana Ross, Florence Ballard, and Mary Wilson. During a rare Milwaukee appearance, I sat down with Mary Wilson to talk about her nearly 50-year career.
Ms. Wilson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let me start here. As a teenager, all those many years ago, did you see yourself having this kind of staying power in such a competitive industry?
Well, we always thought we were great. I mean, we really did. And you know what? We started singing, let me see, we were 13 years old, 12 and a half, 13, between the four of us. And I remember when we got together with Eddie Kendricks, Paul Williams, who were called the Primes, and we were called the Primettes. Our harmonies matched right at the very first time we started to sing together.
Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the author of 14 books, including Come Hell or High Water, Making Malcolm, and his latest, Know What I Mean. He is a professor at the prestigious Georgetown University, and he has been named one of the most influential Black Americans by Ebony magazine. During a recent visit to Milwaukee, I sat down with a man who has been dubbed the hip-hop intellectual by critics and fans alike.
Dr. Dyson, thank you so much for joining us here on Black Nouveau. Let me start with the book, You Know What I Mean. Whole different concept, kind of unique, and has the flavor of an album or a CD.
Well, I wanted to reach the younger generation in a format with which they were comfortable, and yet that allowed me to package my ideas in an accessible fashion that was, akin to a CD.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm here for an HIV test.
Okay. Have you ever been to our clinic before?
No.
Okay. A couple of things I need to explain to you. We're a confidential clinic. You get assigned a number. We do not call you by your name until you get with your counselor. And I'm going to ask you to fill out this registration form with your name and your address. I need you to sign the bottom for me.
It took very little time to fill out the paperwork, and even though I'm hardly in the high-risk category, it's always good to err on the side of caution. A new report card of sorts has just been released on the job that MPS is doing with our schools. Now, while the findings are mixed, for the first time in many years, there are some noticeable improvements. And it's my pleasure to welcome MPS Superintendent William Andrikopoulos back to Black Nouveau, and thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
Let me start here with suspensions. There had been a lot of pressure for MPS to reduce the number of suspensions, and I understand suspensions are down some 15% thus far this year. What's making the difference?
Well, I think what's making a difference, we had a couple grants from the federal government that have helped. Department of Labor and Department of Education have given us about $10 million.
And we've got a challenge for you. Do you know the name of the first African American to play baseball in the major leagues? If you do, call us at 414-297-7556. Give us his name, your name, address, and phone number. The first 3 people with the correct answer will win a Black Nouveau t-shirt like the one Keith is wearing.
I sleep in mine.
Oh, do you?
I do indeed.
All right, 24 hours, 7 days a week.
You better know it. And that wraps up this edition of Black Nouveau.
Remember, in the coming week, do something to expand your world. Good night.